Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Frédéric Dodinchin. I'm the program leader on climate change at the Center for Mediterranean Integration, and I'm really glad to be with you today. And before I start with a few slides, and actually this one, you know it, but I think it's always good to remind everybody what this is about, the emergency for action. And I would like first to congratulate the youth. Why? Because we have established a network without being able to get together in presence. This has been done virtually, and it's really fascinating because creating a network is not easy. It's already hard to get together, to agree on common values, and more importantly, to agree on a way towards for action, and action which is urgent in the case of climate change. But in the specific context of the COVID-19 pandemic, in the context where many of you have been affected by the pandemic, I think it has been an amazing journey, and it's not finished. And you have built a network which is key to address the challenges which are presented on that slide. And I think when you see these kind of big waves, you may say, what can we do? And the answer is exactly the next slide. You can do a lot, and we can do a lot together. It's about empowering the youth, and it's about youth networks. And I think what you have demonstrated yesterday and today when we see the agenda is that it's not only about chatting and discussing, but it's really about mobilizing a group of youth. You are more than 150 now within Medica. What is Medica? Medica is a network of youth, professionals, young professionals from the academia, from the private public sectors, from the research industry, and you are all together to bring solutions and also to advocate for the urgency of the vis-a-vis the climate crisis. During these 2 days, we'll discuss important topics and deal with important sectors: ecotourism, food and water systems, mobility, and nature-based solutions, because this is about empowering the youth to participate in the governance of ecosystems. And I like to say that what is important is that we can achieve a green recovery, which will create jobs, so which will have a positive economic impact. We have to change the comments on the action toward climate change and toward resilience, saying that it will cost money. No, these could go together with economic progress and especially green jobs, local development, the ecosystem resilience, improving the resilience of ecosystems, and all the benefits and services that can come from nature. And finally, and we'll have a very I think convincing presentation on how this can bring peace and stability in the Med region, but also worldwide. So I would like to just close my few words of introduction with, I think, the solution. It's about being aware of the situation, and I think we are aware. We have to make everybody aware of the situation. It's about action, and it's about solutions, and it's about getting together. And I think the Mediterranean Youth for Climate Action Network is part of the solution. And we start this day with a call to join the Medica network, and we'll end the day with a call to join the Medica network. So again, thank you to all the speakers and participants and active participants, those who will be featured today, those who have worked behind the scene. And I wish us a good half day. And please be vocal and convey your ideas the way you want to convey them. Thank you. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Frédéric, for these strong messages. I would like actually directly to pass the floor further to Andres from IUCN, whose screen is loading. Yeah, we see it. So here you go.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to all participants, speakers, and institutions that they are here today with us. And congratulations to CNI for the excellent organization of this event. Well, in few minutes, Frederic was talking about enhancing Mediterranean integration in the Mediterranean. So CNI had a webinar last week about this point. It was about enhancing Mediterranean integration. IUCN and CNI is working to enhancing the Mediterranean youth, and it's a key point for us for now and the future. There is an excellent example to work together between international institutions as CNI World Bank and IUCN. IUCN has a global program, Nature 2030, One Nature, One Future, and CNI is working in the Mediterranean too. So we are working together in this area. We mustn't forget another institutions that they are working at global and regional level. For example, this report that appeared last week about cities pandemics, that is one of the topics that we are talking in the events that we have today, towards a more just, green, and healthy future as a key point for the Mediterranean region. We mustn't forget another global institutions, United Nations and the Mediterranean Action Plan. Today, we will speak about peace and communication. United Nations Mediterranean Action Plan is talking about making peace with nature and delivering on SDGs in the Mediterranean. Yesterday and today, youth people are talking together. We mustn't forget another institution, another call that appeared in the last weeks, that is the Mediterranean Youth Solutions Report. It's another action that, please check it. You have here the contact, because you have experience, you have knowledge, you have the institutions, organizations that they are working together in the Mediterranean, and you can submit this proposal in this Mediterranean youth solution. The deadline is the end of April. Please, is another option for you, for your organization, for your experience. I don't want to forget another institution that we will be with us today. Isidro Gonzalez, Deputy Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean, we will be with us. IUCN has a big experience with Union for the Mediterranean. For example, we had a 20 countries meeting in Barcelona with scientists, experts, and journalists discussing about the environmental challenge in the Mediterranean. And please don't forget another key point. All the discussion that we will have today and we had yesterday will put on the table of the IUCN World Conservation Congress in Marseille on September. So please help us to obtain the best resolutions, the best options, the best concept for this World Conservation Congress. And I don't want to finalize without to speak about youth, the concept of youth in the global program of IUCN. Youth is a vital catalyst for change in the world. We mustn't forget that the 52% of the world population today is under 30 years old. So IUCN work with youth and work for the leadership of the youth. Youth people are typically referring to as tomorrow leaders, but IUCN believe that they are today's leaders and will therefore prioritize empowering youth ambassadors and youth-led movement. For example, yesterday we were talking about water resources, ecosystem service, and youth is a key point for the IUCN program to develop these concepts. Another point that Frederick told in his speech is about nature-based solution. Yesterday we have an excellent workshop about nature-based solutions and appear in the IUCN program nature-based solutions and the relationship with adaptation to the impact of climate change. Medica, as Frederick said, is a young group of people in the Mediterranean working together in climate change. Nature-based solution and climate change is one of the key topics for IUCN, not only for adaptation, also about mitigation is another key point for us. Don't forget that IUCN has a Mediterranean program. Later, my colleague Huda will speak about PPOSCAN, the program, and how we work in the Mediterranean. We have an approach is about influencing policy and economic sectors. We generate solutions and knowledge, promoting nature-based solutions. We work in capacity building conservation, and we have some special focus, for example, sustainable tourism meet program that yesterday Natalie was speaking about that. Agriculture, today we will have in the event of today one focal point about agriculture, fisheries, and of course the special region focus in North Africa. So please don't forget that you have the key for the future for the conservation and to avoid climate change in the Mediterranean. We have the social media keys for you, and please use this social media, and I hope that today will be an excellent event for us, for young people in the Mediterranean. Congratulations again, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you, Andres. We hope so too. Yeah, you have mentioned the fact that we had some great presentations yesterday. There were some very impressive interactions, and some solutions have come up already. So here I would like to call on the facilitators from yesterday's session. We will follow the same order. So we'll first have the feedbacks from the group who discussed nature-based solutions and how this can be included in public policies. Then we'll have a look at the topic of air pollution, to be followed by green jobs, and finally mobility. So yeah, to start with, I would like to give the floor to Bianca Carrera, who will introduce herself and then relate the content of yesterday's session.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for leaving the floor to me. Actually, Aya will start the restitution, but I will present myself. My name is Bianca Carrera, and as you might have seen in the video that Sarah displays at the beginning, I am a collaborator writer in various news outlets, and I like to write about geopolitics in the African continent, but I am also very interested in environmental matters. So, Aya, if you want to introduce yourself too.
Thank you, Bianca. My name is Aya. I'm a researcher on climate change and sustainable development policies in the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. So I'm going to start with a brief points, and then my colleague Bianca will continue. So first of all, I would like to thank CMI and IUCN for this great opportunity to participate in this summit. So yesterday, my colleagues, Salah, Yara, and Bianca, we delivered the nature-based solutions and public policies session. We had a diverse group of participants from Lebanon, Palestine, the US, India, Spain, and other countries. We first provided an overview on NBS with some examples, and we highlighted some of the advantages in solving different challenges we face today. And as Andre mentioned, like mitigating and adapting to climate change, we showed how NBS can help us in managing disaster risk and attaining food and water security. And we highlighted advantages of NBS in improving livelihoods and also as known in conserving biodiversity. With regard to the public policy part, we highlighted the importance of mainstreaming NBS in national sectoral policies, such as in the sectors of water, agriculture, and others. Here, we also highlighted the importance of engaging local communities and local actors in implementing NBS initiatives. And one major point also highlighted here is the importance of having financial mechanisms to implement NBS initiatives. In the context of COVID-19 pandemic, we saw together yesterday how NBS can be an economic winner for post-COVID-19 recovery, given the economic worth of ecosystem services and the dependency of many livelihoods around the world on the natural systems. And so again here, we concluded that governments and all of us need to work with nature and not against it. Then we came to the part of case studies. Two case studies were presented from Palestine and Spain. The case study from Palestine presented a natural solution to treat water from nitrates without using any chemicals. And my colleague Salaha presented this. And Bianca had a case study on green rooftops in Barcelona. And here I just want to highlight one important point. So like, for example, Salah, he told us that he did the pilot study, the pilot project. I talked about finance, and finance actually financing NBS is one of the major obstacles. We know now that countries are becoming more aware about this, especially in the context of climate change. But since this is a great issue, I also would like to highlight that we should benefit from our medical network and being together here today. So I would like also to share with you a few funding opportunities that I came across that fund ecosystem-based solutions. Some of you may be familiar with them, so I will share them on the chat. And I would like to call all my colleagues from America to share together any opportunities that we have. And I'm going to leave it here to Bianca to conclude with you the main messages from the interactive session. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Aya, for this recap. So apart from the cases study that my colleague Aya has just explained regarding the water crisis in Gaza or the green rooftops in Barcelona, participants also provided various examples of nature-based solutions in their areas. According to a survey we made at the beginning of the session, the majority of them were already acquainted with the term nature-based solutions. Some projects that they said were being implemented in the regions range from green rooftops, as we said, urban gardens, river or other natural spaces, restoration, and many more. However, the most interesting and important part of yesterday's session was the interaction dynamics, from which we were able to get very valuable points that I will now share with you. Firstly, when it comes to identifying the main initiators of the nature-based solutions around different countries, we see a big presence of local youth associations and NGOs. Governmental institutions, from the answers we got, were less engaged. This links to the next question we posed, which were the main constraints the implementation of nature-based solutions faced. Young participants told us that the main limitations had to do with, as Aya has briefly go through, lack of funding, lack of engagement from governmental institutions, and lack of consciousness on the benefits of this kind of projects. As for civil engagement, we can conclude that the majority of the population is becoming more aware about the importance of nature conservation and natural solutions. and we can prove it with the answers saying that the majority of them are initiated by grassroots groups. Therefore, apart from the educational side, the conclusion we got from the session in general was that what is more crucial for the implementation and fostering of nature-based solutions is commitment by municipalities and governments, and therefore an increase on the investment of the national investment in this kind of solutions. So I will finish this recitation with the same sentence that we started yesterday's session. That is that if we look deep into nature, we will understand everything better. So here we go to all governments, all institutions, and all stakeholders possible to really give us the resources that the youth, young experts, and committed people all around the world need in order to be able to implement this kind of nature-based solutions that can really save our planet. Thank you so much.
Thank you a lot, Bianca and Aya and the rest of the team who facilitated that session. We are really looking forward to hearing from you in the chat, also to exchanging any thoughts you had, any ideas of funding opportunities or of other initiatives as the one you mentioned. Thanks a lot for the strong messages. We'll have a time for questions. So if you have questions, also write them down in the chat. But we'll do that after the restitution of all of the sessions. So now I would like to call on the air quality team and on Yesra Skaki for the restitution of that session.
Yes, Sarah, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Yesra Shkaki from Syria, environmental researcher. We are four in the team, Dr. Ghiyas Daoun and Ahlam Qasim and Hassan Saleh. Our session was on air quality. I will talk a summary, a brief of the session. There were about 14 attendees in the room of air quality. Our team presented its thoughts of the positive effect of COVID-19 pandemic lockdown in 2020. We illustrated the efficiency of remote sensing data, specialists in monitoring the aerosols in atmosphere to characterize the temporal variation of atmospheric emissions. In addition to that, the team explained the logical relationship between the pollution and the needs of local development and the role of youth in the process. In addition, we presented our model to improve the process through enhancing the experience of Community Environmental Support Center in Syria. To explore the thoughts of youth participating in the summit, we prepared 12 interactive slides that revise the content of presentation and give idea about the accepting of model in other regions. We noticed that the most of participants in the room had not enough time to understand the displayed graphs of aerosol estimated. When asking the participants about using the new technology in their daily activities, the most of them now using very well the mobile application, but they aren't so familiar with other technologies such as remote sensing, GIS, and anti-web applications. Perhaps they have enough perception of the importance of it in make our life more easy. On answering at two other related questions, we discovered that the maximum of attend 4 of 7 doesn't reach the expanding of new technologies using, because they has more of worries about the falsification of data and the violation of their privacy. To understand more about the opinion of participants, we used several slides that measures their feeling and impression of the actual crisis of COVID-19. The maximum of attendees confirmed the importance of increasing the efforts of climate change mitigation, and in same time the international collaboration, which reflects their best strengths. In addition, 4 of 7 participants in voting disliked the sad science of masked peoples working alone in empty cities. Nevertheless, 7 of 8 votes expressed their disagreement with the photos of pollution sources in big cities, where the most important source for them is industry. To understand more about the opinion of participants, we used several slides that measures their feelings and impression of the actual crisis of COVID-19. About the importance of local development, we learned from the most of participants that they don't think there is real development in their countries. To achieve this objective, they think that the authorities must change their policies and strategies and give more of importance to the cultural, empower the role of youth in local development, and do more efforts in the domain of waste management. For example, increasing the use of treated wastewater in the agriculture. There is a few of votes for the importance of cooperative in local development, which we think is very good, that all vote was for take a job in rural regions and live close to nature. In addition, the majority believe in the importance of using clean renewable energy and in the enhancing of e-learning and acceleration of digital transformation. Yes, that was all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Yesra, for this restitution. And thank you also for the rest of the team, of course. So we've heard from the first group, lack of commitment from municipalities in engaging in nature-based solution. Here we hear also there is the lack of rural development. So it's two interesting thoughts that here are binding together, I think. And yeah, so we've had a lot of discussions about how youth now feel about going back to nature, since nowadays the main population live in urban areas, but they would feel like going back to rural ones. So that was really interesting discussions. Thank you a lot for that. The question of job was also mentioned in a further breakout session, and especially of green jobs. And here I would like to call for Jandos, who's already sharing his screen perfect, to tell us more about this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And hello, everyone. My name is Jandos Tayden. I had the privilege to moderate the breakout session on empowering Mediterranean youth to strengthen the governance of ecosystem with my dear co-facilitators Mezra Öner from Turkey and Abdulhamid Sherif from Egypt. We got to discuss what is needed to build a green, inclusive, and resilient recovery from the pandemic and explore the opportunities to mainstream green jobs in the Mediterranean countries and beyond. I think that we had very fruitful and interactive discussions by posing critical questions and doing brainstorming with valuable outcomes. In this first question, for example, we tried to describe pandemic's positive impacts on the ecosystem and businesses, and we gave country-specific examples from Turkey, Egypt, Ghana, France, Spain, Jordan, Morocco, and Mexico. We had participants from these countries with diverse academic and professional backgrounds. In summary, we argued that on one hand, the lockdowns had many negative impacts, such as many economic activities were interrupted, particularly in the sectors with low labor productivity or strong social interactions. On the other hand, the restrictions led the market to focus on shorter supply chains, consume local products, and integrate digitalization in the business models. And we all witnessed that the pandemic had tremendous positive impacts on the environment. We tried to describe in this question how we can maintain these positive impacts beyond the pandemic. We argued that transitioning to green jobs upon implementation of climate change policies would lead to job creation and prosperity. Accordingly, we tried to find out the areas where there is higher potential for a green transition and how green jobs are being debated as a means of economic recovery in the Mediterranean region. In this question, we tried to describe the local institutional capacity needed to implement and maintain the solutions we identified. We agreed that environmental gains from the pandemic would most likely be temporary unless the fundamental reforms are carried out. Accordingly, we argued that awareness raising and common understanding, as just said by Frederick, a dialogue and collaboration among sectors, investing into skills required in green jobs, fostering financial incentives and instruments, and policy development and cross-sectorial coordination and integration are needed. In this question, we tried to describe how we can get the community, such as grassroots, civil society, academia, private sector, public sector, engaged in the solutions that we identified. Having said that, we have to move from knowledge to action. We argued that the community can get engaged as a labor force for green jobs, in other words, as the supply side of the labor market, and also as customers of the green products and services by changing their consumption patterns through awareness-raising measures. Supporting the local producers, cooperatives, to increase the quality and environmental friendliness of their business activities, products, and services would be fostered in cooperation and joint initiatives of the public sector, civil society, and academia. We tried to describe the main bottlenecks we would face in implementing our solutions and how we would overcome them. We argue that the bottlenecks could be either institutional, financial, or technical. And we overcome these bottlenecks, referring to the previous answer. In a nutshell, we first need to create awareness, then foster a dialogue for common understanding of the common problems and solutions. Then we need to facilitate cross-sectorial coordination and cooperation. This is what we need. Briefly, we need communication, coordination, and cooperation for the prospects for our one nature and one future. We got to the conclusion that the pandemic has brought to us a crossroads in our policy choices. We need to have integrated long-run policies and strategies that emphasize green, resilient, and inclusive development. We need to accelerate the mainstreaming of green jobs, green economies, integration of digitalization, improvement of the local supply chains. No one can do this alone. This is a huge job. Accordingly, a dialogue between public, private, civil society sectors and academia, locally and internationally, is needed to make policies and a common will and proactiveness to implement the jointly made policies. As the young people are the catalysts of the change said by Monsieur Alcantara, today we have a historic opportunity to make ourselves heard, to overcome the rising dangers of climate change, inequality, social instability, and environmental degradation. Thanks everybody for the great engagement, for the opportunity and interaction. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jandost. And indeed, these changes will also go through the jobs that the youth choose and the commitment they can make as part of this job, but also next to it, of course. Thank you a lot for that. And thanks for the rest of the team, of course. And I would now like to call on the last group for the restitution. So Nujud and Ella for the session on mobility.
Hello, hi everyone. So my name is Njud. I'm from Jordan and I presented along with Ala the breakout session on mobility, which I wanted to share a presentation with you, but I think I'm not a host, so I can't.
You should be able to.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. I'll just get it really quickly. Okay.
Nice background image, Ala. Setting the tone. Okay, we see your screen. Perfect. Thanks, Najid. Go ahead.
Perfect. So yeah, we presented, the session was about mobility and specifically the positive impact of COVID-19 on emissions reductions and how the confinement policies basically reduced CO2 emissions due to closed international borders, local confinement, and most importantly, also it changed our consumption patterns. So a lot of what we presented had to do with micromobility, electric vehicles, walking and cycling, and how governments can actually continue on the pace that we were already going on during confinement. So we did 3 case studies: Egypt, Jordan, and Paris. And I think Ala will have something to add here. Ala,
yeah, thanks, Najud. Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay, yeah. Like what Najud said, yeah, we introduced the mobility model approach, a new different model, including like the walkability, cycling, e-vehicles, and as well the micromobility concept. So we focused to discuss this in 3 main case studies in different all over the world, in Egypt, in Jordan, and Paris. The first case study was in Egypt, and we started to figure out the challenges in the mobility sector, and like what we can do to and what have been done already to improve the mobility infrastructure for Egypt, for a country like Egypt. We discussed a lot of initiatives like the incentives that the government planned since like a decade to improve the vehicles. I will translate for the vehicles from the gasoline or diesel to another forms like the compressed natural gas, like electric vehicles, like yeah, other types of vehicles depending on different type of fuel. Also, we started after that on having a lookup about the models of e-mobility in Egypt, the charging stations, the exemption that has been offered for the citizens to encourage them to brought electric vehicles from the outside. And actually, this approach has been applied by many different countries, like to break the myth about that the vehicles are so expensive and they are not reliable for long distances. Yes, so yeah, that's what was discussed in that part. Moving to the second part, which is about the challenges that we have faced inside. Maybe this slide. Yeah. Before discussing the case studies, we were highlighting the challenges and how we could overcome this challenge in each case study. So, for example, these were the 6 main barriers we got in the main challenges for different countries, like the pedestrian crossing zones, traffic speed limiters, a place for a safe cycling lane, induced traffic as a result of the unplanned behavior from the urban design for the infrastructure for the vehicles, and not giving the right access or enough rights for the disabled people and the children to have a secure path for cycling, for doing or walking or anything, or really doing any other activity than vehicles. And then we started to do another second case study, which is about Jordan, which Nejud will discuss about the main highlights.
Yeah, so we chose Jordan as one of the case studies that we talked about in the presentation because we thought it showed how Jordan is a country that suffers from dense population with a very weak public transportation infrastructure. So we talked about how what are the push tactics that the government implemented in order to encourage greener modes of transportation and then overall establish a greener mobility industry. So a lot of those policies had to do with giving financial incentives for electric vehicle users, encouraging people from the public sector to only use electric vehicles, and they actually substituted or changed 300 vehicles that were designated for the public sector usage into Tesla electric vehicles. So and we know it's very important to highlight that this is possible. So we used Amsterdam and Heidelberg in Germany as one of the examples that turned into greener cities. So a lot of officials say, like, for instance, but we're not Amsterdam, we don't have the roads for that. And what we wanted to remind our audience is that once upon a time, Amsterdam did not look as green as it does today. So we wanted to show that it's basically possible. And Heidelberg in Germany, the mayor is actually implementing policies to go completely emissions free. And that means they will completely not rely on cars anymore. And this includes electric vehicles as well. So for example, if you prove that you've given up your car, you get to have free public transportation, you get a free metro, a free bus card, and so on. So those are 2 cities that showed us that it is possible as long as there's a political will and advocacy for such policies, then everything is possible. And then we took our audience through a drive around Paris and Amsterdam as well as Dublin, because those are 3 cities that have more or less supporting infrastructure for pedestrian walking and pedestrian cycling. So Paris is actually implementing a 15-minute urban plan, and a lot of local mayors around the world, especially in Europe, are reconsidering this 15-minute urban plan because COVID-19 showed us how brutal the economic shocks could be on cities. And that's why a lot of mayors are going back to reconsidering a 15-minute urban plan for their capital cities, at least, in order to fight economic shocks and ensure that everything is available during crisis. And of course, that leads to lower emissions because we have cars. People don't take cars unless for necessary travels. And in so many ways, the 15-minute urban plan actually supports all the achievement of all the 17 SDGs, such as good health and well-being, decent work and economic growth, as well as climate action, and most importantly, SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities. So then I don't know if Ayla wants to elaborate more on this, but if not, I could go ahead. But we basically also presented recommendations from the C40. They released a report along with the University of Leeds and other such institutions about recommendations that we can use or encourage us to do in order to achieve greener mobility, such as create more public awareness, put electric car sharing advocacies, rely on electric vehicles that actually have reduced emissions, and for instance, perhaps electrify school buses, which is specifically important because children are the most vulnerable to air pollution. So this was one of my personal favorite recommendations. So yeah, so in so many ways, there are a lot of things that the governments could do at a policy level in order to achieve green air mobility overall, and stay on the same track of reduced emissions that we saw during confinement, and not only on a governmental level, but also companies like Salesforce, Google, and PwC all introduced new policies to allow working from home for their employees. So this would definitely result in a significant reduction of greenhouse gas emissions overall, because they will not be transporting as much, and they will be working remotely. So I don't know if Ala has anything to add.
Yes, I know that we are out of time, but I just have to add like the last conclusion. I can summarize what I guess Najud stated and elaborate more for that issues. So yeah, for the mobility, we want to conclude a kind of a model. This model will be using the different approaches that encourages the low emission zones and decrease the low emission zones, increases the low emission zones areas inside the cities, and decreases the greenhouse gases. And also it changes the paradigm and the mindset of different citizens to have a kind of a public acceptance for the electric vehicles, so and other different types of mobility, in order to think that it's a first priority to save the environment and to add a value to their society and to their health. So yeah, as Najud said, we were having a kind of 20 attendees during the last session, and actually they were from different countries, and we got a kind of interaction between the different cities is similar to them. So for example, if we are living in a MENA region, if you are living in Europe, Australia, US, differently we'll have different infrastructure for the mobility. So that's what we try to come up, and also using this amazing activity of drive and listen, which I will share with you in the text after I finish. I recommend you everyone to try it and witness the mobility and witness the infrastructure mobility that should be applied for your city, and to figure out how the position, or how far that your country, your government is being adapted to that approach. I'd like to thank you a lot for that, and I hope that you enjoyed our presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Najud and Ala, for this presentation and the very clear steps. Indeed, please share in the chat all the information. I think many people would like to hear more about it and to experience that. So we are done with the presentation of the feedbacks of what has been discussed in yesterday's breakout session. So as you can see, there were a lot of very innovative ideas, also a lot of ideas that have been discussed, but on which we know that these steps need to be taken, but there was also the discussion on how they can be taken and what needs to be pushed more forward. So it was really, really interesting. If there are questions on these presentations, please write them in the chat, and we will also have a quick interactive Q&A session, which we have prepared. But before that, I have been informed that our partner from the Union for Mediterranean is present, and that we have Isidro Gonzalez on board. So if you'd like to take the floor now, since you couldn't do it at the beginning, I welcome you to do so to present your vision about youth inclusion in about 2-3 minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, I was supposed to speak at the end of the session, so anyway, I was waiting. Thank you. And so glad to see so many young people from so many countries. Good afternoon from Spain, from Barcelona. Just a very quick remarks. I had to congratulate you for the big job you are doing. You have been doing during this session today and the previous day. Reminding you only that at the Union for the Mediterranean, we are very committed with young people, with youth in general, and we believe that youth or young people are agents of change in the Mediterranean. They should be agents of change in the Mediterranean, changes for the good. We celebrate every year on an annual basis already a UFM Youth Forum, where we foster the leadership of young people in our region. Our region, as you are talking about climate change, mainly don't remember that our region is number 2 in a very negative standing, the standing of regions more affected by climate change. Only the Arctic region is more affected than the Mediterranean region by climate change. The Mediterranean region, the temperature in the Mediterranean region is rising 20% faster than in the rest of the planet. And if we don't do anything now, the temperature will go up to around 2.2 more degrees by the end of this century. This is not a good legacy for our children and grandchildren, and we should be worried. That's why it is so important that young people, you really act as agents of change, because we don't have time to lose. I will only conclude by reminding you that in the coming months in Egypt, we are convening a meeting of our 42 member countries of the Union for the Mediterranean on environment and climate action. That will be very, very important. We just finished also the 2nd of February, another ministerial meeting on blue economy, on the impacts of pollution in the sea. Don't forget that the Mediterranean Sea covers only 1% of the surface of the planet, of the maritime surface of the planet, but 1/3 of the global navigation, 30% of the ships navigating in the world, they cross the Mediterranean on a daily basis. So this is a very busy sea that we have to take care of, which is very polluted. Every minute, 33,000 bottles of plastic are being thrown to the Mediterranean, and this is dramatic. So we need you, all the young people, to be active and to contribute for this negative picture being changed in the following years. So thank you, Sarah. I'll give you back the floor, and thank you for the invitation. And it's been an honor for me being here.
Thank you for participating, and thank you for your words. Thank you also for recalling the figures that we are trying to avoid, but it is very interesting to have that in mind. So I don't see if there are any questions from the chat, but I think we have a few questions from Huda on the presentations made by the youth. So Huda from PPI OSCAN, if you'd like to take the floor.
Yes, sure, Sarah. Thank you so much. So I will start with the NBS session. When Aya and Bianca, they were talking, I highlighted one point that was important, which is the commitment of public institutions. So my question is, in your opinion, how can the NBS enhance the public policies in the Mediterranean? Can I go on, Sarah, for the other session, or I wait for the answer? What do you think?
Yes, you can go on so that I can prepare the responses if they wish to.
Okay. Okay. So I have another question for the air pollution session. So I am wondering, how do you think youth can face the air pollution in a post-COVID world? The other question is for the green jobs and new technologies that I enjoyed really hearing, and I've learned a lot from all the session, to tell the truth. I am asking, what is the role of youth in promoting the green jobs? You've spoken about technology, about the use of technology, how youth can really make this change and this revolution. My last question is to the session for the mobility that I attended, that I had the chance to attend. And thanks to Ala and Jude, I learned so much and I enjoyed the tool. This drive and listen was amazing. I invite you to all do that. So my question is for you, because since you had the two main studies were in Cairo and Jordan, in the best scenario, what would be like the mobility in the south of Mediterranean in 10 years? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ambitious questions, I think. And for all of this, there is really no black and white answer. It's more of a perspective that is asked for. So yeah, maybe taking the same order, I'd like to send back the question to Bianca and Aya about NBS and how what they can enhance for them to share the vision.
Okay, so well, thank you, Hira, for your questions. My colleague Aya lost her connection, so I will try to answer in the best way I can, although she was a professional in this part. So regarding how NPS can be enhanced through public institutions, I think this was your questions, or how can they be part of the policy making. I can give you the example I know from my city, from Barcelona. My municipality here was actually the initiator of various nature-based solutions, and the one that was presented in my case study was green rooftops. And this is a great example of how the municipal funds can be used to foster nature-based solutions with this money that my municipality has. They have used it to fund different nature-based solutions. It's true that they don't have a lot, and we would like municipalities to come with more money in order to find this local these local projects. But yeah, Aya, do you wanna add something, because I guess you're back?
Yes, I'm back. So the question was how we can enhance NBS and public policy, and I'm gonna try to answer it like from a pure public policy perspective. Um, when we're talking about policies, I was saying that we need to mainstream NBS in policies. For example, countries in every period of time they develop their national, for example, their national water strategy or their national agriculture strategy, and they have national development plans. What I was saying is that governments, when they are formulating these plans and when they're making their national targets, they need to consider nature-based solutions as part of these solutions. We cannot, we cannot have isolated policies for nature-based solutions. We cannot say we're going to implement this and be as a project independently. I'm saying here that we need to have nature-based solutions being part of our development in our economic plans and health, because we said there is so many advantages of NBS on the different dimensions of sustainable development. And while countries or governments, when they formulate these policies, they need to engage the local communities. NBS tend to be more local. And here's the engagement of local actors such as municipalities, as Bianca mentioned in her example. So that's one thing. And also to make sure, because when countries they formulate these plans and these policies, they have like financial targets, or they say we're gonna, they have their financial plans also for this. So that's another way to mainstream and to make sure that we have NBS included on the different levels of national plans and development strategies. I hope that answers your question well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Then maybe if it answers the question, we can move to the question you asked to the air pollution group. So it was about how the role of youth actually in air pollution and how concretely they can contribute to reducing it. So here passing the floor to the group. I don't know who would like to take that one.
Yes, our vision at Charity is the development of local community to reduce the mobility to the big cities, limit the immigration to big cities, so we can reduce the consumption of energy. When we work at the empowering of local community, we don't need to migrate to big cities to find a job. In more time, bad jobs job, we live bad life with bad quality of life, consume how much of energy, so much of emissions. This is our vision.
So
When we enhance and empower the participants, we can in their country.
thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Jiyet. I think your voice was cutting a bit, but from what I got, it's a strong call for youth to take advantage of the positive aspects of rural life, and because the most of the emissions are to be found in the cities, and this is especially true in the Mediterranean region. Does that answer your question, Huda? And
Yeah, indeed, like especially to move from like cities to state to create jobs. That's what I understood from Riyadh, that to create jobs in locally in small cities, in villages, so that young people that are not immigrating to the big ones and to big agglomeration that creates more pollution. Thank you, Jiyad.
exactly. Exactly, and that gives a transition to the green jobs question, I would say. So from this group, please take the floor. Who wants to answer that one?
Regarding green jobs, right?
Yeah.
Then I will be happy to take the floor. And thank you very much, dear Huda, for the relevant question. In my humble opinion, the role of the youth in promoting green jobs is, first of all, being aware of the common problems and solutions, then to create awareness of the others, and then throughout our career paths in different sectors, the role of youth is to foster and facilitate cross-sectorial coordination and cooperation. So briefly, I would say that regardless of the sectors the youth represent, the youth, we need to communicate, coordinate, and cooperate with each other. That will lead to mainstreaming of green jobs. This is one. And last but not least, my humble opinion would be linked to the issue of the awareness again. The most simple contribution of the youth is to change its own consumption patterns, to be more aware, to be more sensitive to awareness and environmental friendliness issues when it comes to our consumption of services and products. I hope that it answered your question.
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I
Thank you.
I agree with you on the awareness importance, especially for changing the mentalities for our conception. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Specifically, like also that you're pointing out at the choice of services, because we often talk about the choice of products when we as a consumer, but indeed the same applies to services, and this applies to the region, which the economy of services is really well developed. So I think this leaves us with one question for the mobility group. And here I'm leaving the floor to Najoud and Ala, if they can answer it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't see the question where it is.
Okay. Huda, could you repeat your question, please?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed it. Sorry, hold on.
So I said, in the best scenario, so hypothetically, what would be like the mobility in South Mediterranean in 10 years? In Cairo, in Jordan, like,
Great,
because
yeah.
you talked about it yesterday, that's why I was interested.
Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks. That's really a good question. Yeah, for the future of mobility in the South Mediterranean countries, like starting from Egypt till Morocco, Libya, Tunisia, and Algeria, there are kind of the vision for each country. Like, for example, in Egypt, in Tunisia, and also Morocco, they have a kind of like initiatives for encouraging the citizens. This plan is extended to be like maybe 10 years, maybe 20. Like they created every year, they said like it's 2030, and then it started to be 2035. So I hope that it's settled in a certain time. But yeah, they have now a good indication. In the government, I can speak the status here in Egypt. They have a good indication of the electric vehicles. Currently, like they are now implementing different infrastructure for electric vehicles. Also, they started to pave the road for the cycling lanes and the pedestrian walk, so you can have a safe pedestrian walk for the cycling and for walkability. So now it's been addressed, and that's the most important. Is that the countries got to know where is the approach and where is the solution and where is the challenge they have to overcome. So yeah, it's I think maybe in like 10 and 15 years, if and this also depends on the economical and financial status, but they are thinking for that and grants and making the funding from different countries that support that. And I heard lately, I heard a kind of studies called the low emission zones in the South Mediterranean. It's a technique like to ensure that we have cities in different countries that totally do not have a gasoline, a diesel inside the cities. They do not allow the heavy truck or heavy vehicles to penetrate to the urban roads or to inside the cities. That maybe cause health and they may also destroy the building paintings and something like that. So, yeah, so it has been. I heard a lot about that, and I hope that it come to be critical, like to be a priority for the governments to focus more and more on that. But yeah, hopefully it will be good in the 10 years to have this low emission zones in the South Mediterranean. Yeah, and thanks for the question. Yeah.
Thanks. Then we look forward for in 10 years to meet again and discuss
Hopefully, maybe in 5 years.
advances. Well, fingers crossed. Thanks to all for for your questions and responses. I suggest that we continue the conversation in the chat if needed. I think there's one question that is directly directed to you, Ala, in the chat. And I'd like to suggest to move on to another topic, which has been very burning during the pandemic, which is about food security and how we can enhance more sustainable food systems. So there were a lot of disruptions in food supply chains all over the world. In some parts of the world, people were scared that there would be a scarcity. And here I would like to call on Dalia Abulfutu and Julie Abu Arab, who will present some solutions to that and for more sustainable food systems to be produced in the Med region. So Dalia, I think you will be starting.
Yes,
So the
you.
floor is yours. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. 1 second while I share my screen.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh.
If that doesn't work, I also have it. If needed, I can share. I think I have the latest version. Just let me know.
Okay, yeah, that's really strange. I'm sorry. Can I ask you to share it from your side?
Yeah, no problem. So I think here we go.
Oh, okay, it's working. My apologies.
Oh, it's working?
Yeah.
Okay,
working.
so I stopped sharing.
Okay, sorry. All right, thanks everyone. Yeah, I just have to quickly say the presentations of the last session were amazing and very informative. So I'll be talking a little bit about the link between food systems and ecosystem resilience, and share a couple global events or processes that are taking place this year dedicated to the theme of food systems. Can you all still see my screen? No.
Well, I shared my screen, so if that's fine by you, I can run through the slides.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. So the first slide. Yeah. So for those of you who are not familiar with the term food system, because it's only becoming more used recently, Sarah, if you could flip to the next slide. Perfect. So the term food system refers to the entire range of activities involved in producing, processing, transporting food, both within and across borders, and consuming food, including what's wasted throughout the cycle. So it's a huge chain of industries and activities at national and global levels. And this complex system has a lot of implications for, of course, our health, but also it has a bearing on our natural resources, land, water, and energy. It's also a matter of equity, because even if we produce enough food, not everyone has enough money or ability to buy nutritious food. And it's often the rural poor who are producing our food. And of course, how we produce and consume food has a huge impact on our ecosystems. So right now we are already seeing how unsustainable practices are causing entire fish populations to crash in certain areas. And we're also seeing crop varieties that are slowly going extinct. Unfortunately, these are often local seed varieties that have very high nutritional value and are very well adapted or suited to local environmental conditions, but they're being replaced with more profitable crops. So because of how important all of these issues are, the UN Secretary General has called for a UN Food Systems Summit this year. So that's on the next slide. The summit is led by the UN, but it brings together all possible stakeholders you can think of, and it's really designed to be a people's summit. So this is happening in July. There's a pre-summit in July, sorry, and the main summit will be in September. Parts will be online and some meetings will be held in person in New York. And the reason for the focus on food systems is, of course, in large part, as Sarah said, a result of the pandemic and the worry over food availability and food prices, but also because food systems are seen as a major accelerator or point of leverage to achieve the 17 SDGs. And so the main outcome that's expected of this summit is concrete and measurable commitments by all stakeholders, so private sector, governments, and including young people. This Food Systems Summit has 5 tracks. The first is ensuring access to safe and nutritious food for all. The second is sustainable consumption patterns, so eating foods that are less damaging to the environment, wasting less. The third is nature positive production, and Christian will tell us a little bit more about that. The fourth track is advancing equitable livelihoods, and finally, building resilience, which is really important, whether it's pandemics, conflict, extreme weather events caused by climate change. We need to make sure that our food systems are strong enough to withstand these shocks. And there's a number of different ways to get engaged. There are summit dialogues taking place all over the world, and I'll come back to that in just one second. There is an online community, including a specific youth community that you can join and chat, exchange information with others. You can be a food systems hero to help raise awareness, set an example for others. There's also a focus group, a youth focus group organized by the UN Major Group for Children and Youth, contributing to the Food Systems Summit. And all of the links and information relevant to these activities are on the summit website, which I'll share at the end. And finally, there's a regional focal point for youth engagement. His name is Ryan Qasim, and I will share his contact information. You can get in touch with him directly, say, hi, I'm interested, and he can direct you. So you can see there's a ton of different ways to get involved. I mentioned the summit dialogues. There are 3 types. There's national dialogues organized by governments, global dialogues organized generally by international organizations and partners, and independent dialogues, which are open and can be organized by any individual or interested organization. You just register your event on the website and you submit the outcomes of your discussion online. And the aim of all of these dialogues is to provide people with a channel or a way to influence the outcomes of the summit, the outcome report, and ensure that all the rich and diverse viewpoints from around the world and across population groups are reflected. I'll stop here and give the floor to Julie to talk a little bit about the Arab Youth Dialogue that took place last month and was attended by MedYCA. If you missed it, there will be another regional youth dialogue in the coming months, and perhaps Ryan can share a little more information. But for now, over to you, Julie.
Thank you, Dalia. Indeed, an Arab Youth Dialogue took place on the 9th of March. It was organized by ESCWA and FAO and other UN agencies in the region, such as WHO, WFP, and IFAD contributed as well, in addition to the Arab Organization for Agriculture Development, AOAD. Why have we targeted the youth? We set up different dialogues in preparation for the Arab Regional Dialogue on Food Systems that took place later on that month on the 29th of March. We specifically wanted to have the youth because more than half of the Arab population is under 25, and we really need to know what their views are, how they see the food system, how they see it improving in order to transform. And really, we really wanted to generate these ideas and the actions that could influence this change. What did the dialogue aim to? As I said, during the dialogue, we reviewed the facts. What are the main challenges of the Arab food system? The challenges we have identified throughout the years, and we have been working on as UN agencies, as regional organizations as well. And we wanted to propose game-changing solutions and actions that could be scalable, actionable, and sustainable for the region. And also we wanted to highlight the voice of the youth and make it heard in the Arab Regional Dialogue and in the summit as well. In this meeting, we had about 44 representatives of various youth groups from the UN, from educational, from academia, from food production, people involved in production, crop production as well. We had 27 females and 17 males as well. Next, please, Sarah. So how did we do it? In order to engage people in a short span, because we had to do it over an hour and a half virtually, which was not very user-friendly, and we will not have been able to gather all these ideas. So we have used an application called Mural, where we asked the different participants after informing them about. We moved into 4 different challenges that impact the region, such as transitioning to healthy foods, advancing equitable livelihoods that are across the 5 tracks that Dalia has mentioned before. And we asked people to identify, if you see these small post-its, they are ideas generated by people who wrote directly what they see as actions. And my colleague Maya and I, we tried to put them and we reflected them in this Mural application. And later on, we asked people to vote for each of these challenges. We had people voting on what they think is the most important action to be undertaken or issue to be raised. And that really reflects the youth vision and who are the stakeholders involved and who should be doing this action. And if you see on each, on the right, on the bottom right, you see in each of these pictures, how they have identified the different stakeholders as well. So we had four areas we wanted people to think about and reflect upon, such as the transitioning to healthy foods, advancing equitable livelihoods. Next, please, Sarah. Also, we had a lot of comments on optimizing sustainable production and responding to risks such as climate change, COVID-19, the different hazards, the fluctuations in temperature, the stress that the region faces upon these changes in the climate. And from all these actions, as I said, we had voting on the different actions, and we came up with the following key actions for each of the areas. Next, please. So for transitioning into healthy food, young people from the region, so it was very important to enact laws that make it illegal to waste food, to reduce the consumption of junk food, especially for children, and to ensure they have enough nutritious food available for them, and to raise awareness on the effect of malnutrition, because we have very high diabetes rates and obesity rates in the region, while also we have a high rate of malnutrition in many countries of the Arab region. For advancing equitable livelihoods, most of the people voted to stop child forced labor. They wanted youth economic empowerment programs to reduce the high employment in youth, and to give equal rights to women and men in accessing resources to make sure they have sufficient production. For optimizing sustainable production, many saw that we need to build the capacity on using solar power, such as a renewable energy, to reduce their fuel bill. And also they requested to use more crops that are climate resilient and require less water, hence more research and more capacity building on the use of such type of crops. In order to respond to risks, that's not only nature risk, but also related to trade, because we're a region that depends a lot on importing from outside the region. And we really need to work on reducing the import and by diversifying the trade partners, because currently, let's say the Arab region have 5 main sources for wheat or cereals, and we need to really diversify in case there's a climate problem or there's a political problem or something that could affect the supply from these people. And we also need to build capacities of the youth and civil society to adapt to the climate change, to have more involvement in adaptation plans and to reduce the impact of climate change. So these are in a nutshell what we have came about. As I said, we held the Arab Regional Dialogue, and we really want to encourage people, and the young especially, to be very active in their countries, to hold this type of dialogues within the locality or within the country or sub-region. And FAO and ESCO are ready, I think, to help them in that. If they need more information, I'll be posting the website of the event, and we'll putting our contact numbers as well. Thank you. Back to you, Dalia.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie. I just want to take one more minute to share with you another global process, which is the World Food Forum, which is happening in parallel and in close connection with the Food Systems Summit, so that you're all informed and have the opportunity to participate. So the World Food Forum is an entirely youth-led and youth-driven movement. There is an event taking place in October with different tracks addressing food systems and food system transformation through things like music, film. There's a culinary festival or like a cooking event. There's an innovation lab. It includes a startup competition, a research competition, some educational platforms, and a youth assembly. And the aim is that it will not just be a single event, but there are activities that are already happening between now and October. And after that, the movement will build on the outcomes of the Food Systems Summit. So that's just in a very quick nutshell. I'm going to go ahead and post in the chat box the contacts and websites for, yeah, that I already covered that slide, so we're good. If you want to learn more or if you want to get engaged. So far, several MedYCA members have been engaged in both processes, and it's great. It's great to see you, and I hope to hear from more of you. Thank you, Sarah. Is Christian in the room? Should I introduce him?
Yeah, that would be perfect.
Okay, so we have another short 5-minute presentation from Christian Chiavetta, who's a researcher on circular economy at the Italian National Agency for New Technologies, Energy, and Sustainable Economic Development. It's a very long name, but I think he's based in Rome. Christian, are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I try to share my screen, and then we can start. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dalia, for introducing me, and thank you for the interesting contribution you and Julie proposed. I want to reinforce your message and the messages we got also from the answer provided by Candace and Aya, for example. to the questions they got. In fact, I would like to highlight how we should focus on priority societal challenges if we want to achieve food security, for example, and at the same time reinforce ecosystem resilience, protect biodiversity, and contribute to the mitigation of climate change. An ecosystem-based approach and the societal challenges oriented design of the transformative innovation vision are the tools to contribute to the target sustainable goals identified and have at the same time a positive or at least a neutral contribution to the other ones. Basically, we should move from product service innovation design to the system change proposed by the transformative innovation in order to overcome the main barriers for a systemic change. This is the approach, for example, of the recent EU Farm to Fork strategy and the EU Biodiversity strategy for 2030, where agriculture is not anymore considered as a target sector for greening solution, but it is more seen as a comprehensive field to reach complex and interconnected societal challenges. Just think to the several ecosystem services provided by not intensive nor extensive med agricultural model, and its high potential to give a positive contribution to many societal challenges. Our aim should be to promote and to support the transition of the dominant system, the actual dominant system, to this illuminate and innovative emergent approach. And the first step is to create cross-sectorial networks of different organizations and create a community of practice. The second step is to create a shared vision of the desired future and carry out shared agendas in order to create a coherent portfolio of actions to change the societal subsystem to advance toward this shared vision and promote a systemic innovation in agricultural sector for biodiversity conservation. This is something I think Aya said very well. This is what I try to do in my daily work at ENEA and what we do in Medica's cross-sectoral working groups, focusing on specific med societal challenges. If you want to support this emergent system, please contact Sarah through her email address. And if you want to know more about my activities in ENEA and in the networks I'm part of, for example, the Summit of the Shore initiative, I joined through the Italian delegation presenting this Circular Economy for Food project. Yeah, feel free to email me. And yeah, thank you for your attention. And I leave the floor again to Dalia. And I stop.
Thank you. Thank you, Christian. We actually advised against keeping the Q&A session, and we'll try redirecting all questions on the chat because we are quite late on the timing. Sorry about that, but if you have any question, I see some questions are arising already to Dalia. I think we can try taking them in the chat, and so same if you have questions for Christian. We can answer that in the chat. If you need to have a follow-up then with some of the discussions, also feel free to contact me. Christian shared my email. I will also put it in the chat box again. So many thanks to both of you for this very interesting presentation. We see that there is a lot to do, but also a lot of opportunities to do that and a lot of spaces to do that. So that's very positive. And I'm sure we will have a lot of youth joining that. It actually leads me to the question of, well, we've discussed a lot of how youth can make themselves heard, empowered. We've talked about what needs to be done, but we didn't discuss so much how we can do that. And here we have we are heading to the third session, which is about youth empowerment and how really we can, as young people, make us heard and have a voice to the chapter. And here I'd like to pass the floor to Mary and Yara, who have prepared a session focusing on the constraints we are facing, and they would like you to participate and provide some answers. So I let them advise on how to do that and introduce the Mentimeter session and link.
Thank you, Sarah. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Perfect.
So very quickly, thank you. Very quickly, I will give a summary of what Mary and I have prepared and what we have done in a previous session with other Medica members a few months ago. So we did an interactive session where we asked them some questions about who has been involved in a project that is related to ecosystem services and also building resilience. So we got many feedback from other young people. Most of them were involved in such projects, and they got to know about such opportunities through their professional or even personal contacts. So this gives us an idea that engaging communities is still something a bit weak in many places, and people know about such initiatives through their contacts mainly. Participants also shared with us that most of them are in the planning phase of their projects, and they did share their concern that the difficulties they are facing are usually in the level of execution of the project as well as communication with other authorities. So at the end of our session last time, we tried to understand from participants how they can see that the Medica network or others can help out, like CMI and others. And they did mention that having such a name would bring them more credibility and more security in their project, and would make maybe policymakers a bit more serious about their work. So we will continue based on this, and I think now Mary will show us a Mentimeter. We hope everyone will join us. She will share the link in the chat box, and we will try to understand the next step of what we discussed last time with all of, I think many of them are here. So I'll give it to Mary.
Thank you, Yara. So now I share my screen. Okay, just give me one moment. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I start the presentation. Okay, so now we have prepared, as Yara said, like a couple of questions to continue from the previous session. And you can see like on the top of my screen, there is a number. So if everyone can go to menti.com and then you enter this number, which is 9943051. And then you can see this question. So, okay. So the question says, who do you first reach out to when you have an idea about a sustainability related project? And there are, I've given you, just to facilitate things, some options that you can pick from. So I can start seeing some of the responses. Okay, I just repeat the code if someone didn't get it the first time. It's 9943051. Okay, we can see that till now the majority is clustering toward the first option, which is friends, classmates / work colleagues. Okay, few more, few more responses.
I've also shared the code and the link on the Whova chat. So for those who are joining from the Whova platform, please go in the chat and enter also menti.com and the code 994305 and 1. This way you can contribute to the Mentimeter poll.
Exactly. Okay, so maybe we can like stop for this question. I give like 10 more seconds. Okay, so in summary, the majority said, as I said before, that they refer to friends, classmates, or work colleagues. And also we have like here another bar which whereby people said like they refer to the public sector or public organizations or programs. We have also a couple of people referring to NGOs or youth organizations and couple referring to family members. Okay, so now I will go to the second question. Why it's not, okay. Okay, it worked. Okay, so the second question is, has the pandemic helped you work on or halted your projects, like the progress on your projects? So was it like beneficial or non-beneficial, the COVID-19 pandemic? Okay, so okay, so we can see that majority said that to the question as yes. So this means that COVID-19 pandemic halted your project. Okay. Okay, I stop now because I think we have enough responses. So okay, so now if like this relates to your previous questions. So how COVID-19 affected your project progress? So here you can write like free text. Okay, so we have like it affected mobility. So more responses. All right. Okay, we have here, like you don't need like to write so much, like just couple like 2 words or 3 words. So we can see that we have now a lot of responses. So there is like mobility. Some of them said like it's more time. Some of them lost opportunities. Okay, so oh, this is good. Completed my PhD thesis. I'm doing now mine. And also I'm doing like progress in the COVID because like we can concentrate more. Okay, so okay, mobility too. It affected your plans, lockdowns. Okay, so actually the pandemic gave more time to work on project. It helped. Okay, I could no longer collect wasted food because of lockdown. What else we have? By postponing meetings and collaborations, gave me time to plan efficiently. Okay, also mobility here. We can see like mobility is like occurring many times. Okay, so I'll move to the next question just for the sake of the time. Okay, so now the next question is, what do you think will be the main challenge you will face after COVID settles down? So there are some options here that you can pick. If you don't find your option, just state other, and then in the next question, you will have the opportunity to put your answer. Okay, so, okay, we can see we have like 5 people said, okay, 7 now. Funding. As investors, so the majority said it's funding, as investors will be waiting to re-increase the economic actions. And then we have like, okay, 8 said it's administrative challenges. So also administrative challenges is popping up. And we have also a lot of people saying others. So now I will move to the next question. So if you had said other, can you please like indicate the reason in no more than 2 words? Okay, so we have here one response which says like, hey, people are demotivated, finding partners, job occupations. Hey, international situation, job occupation, but we have like people are demotivated as the stronger one and setting right priorities. All right, so now I will move to the last question. So how do you think NGOs and youth networks, such as, for example, the Medica network, can help you overcome this main challenge, or also like other networks that you are in? Okay. So we can see we have like, okay, I'll wait some time until I receive all responses. Okay, so we can see that the majority said it's networking and cooperation with other youth. We have also 6 people saying providing training / workshops or internships. Okay, and then we have like equal splitting between giving visibility to our ideas / projects through webinars or conferences and providing funding / information about calls for funding. All right, so this ends the quiz, the interactive quiz. So now I will hand over to Yara and stop sharing. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mary, and thanks everyone for participating. I think we will save all of the answers, and as usual, we'll try to analyze them separately and perhaps discuss how we can move forward with Sarah and everyone at CMI. So thanks everyone. It's very interesting this time to hear a bit more about the challenges during COVID and see how such a network such as Medica can help out. So now I think I will move on. Mary, please stop sharing your screen. I think I can move on to the next part, which is a project I'm also very excited to be part of. It's the Peace on Climate campaign. I will just leave the floor to my colleagues. Christy, Haya, Ahmed, and Bianca and I started this project a while ago. So they will introduce the team and how this entire idea started and what our idea is about and how you can support us. So I will give the floor to Christy, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, everyone. Okay, Peace and Climate is an intercultural group that has been given the opportunity to conduct a social campaign with the support of CMI and Anna Link Foundation. I will introduce you our team. We are 5 young people from different countries, and I will start introduction with our first team member, that is Ahmed. Ahmed is from Egypt. He is master student of entrepreneurship and innovation of Warwick University in UK. He is former business mentor and partnership officer at Venture Center from the General Authority for Investment and Free Zones in Egypt. He works as a freelancer advisor from early stage teach startups. Our second team member is Bianca. She is from Spain and she is a prospective university student in international relations or politics and a member of Mediterranean Youth Climate Action Network. She is an intern at the United Nations Association of Spain and works as a collaborator writer in a Spanish think and do tank Puerto de Africa. Our third team member is Haya. She is from Palestine. She is a journalist and media consultant based in West Bank City in Hebron. She's graduating with a BA in English language and literature. And she started her career as a journalist working with local media and news outlets, and then processed to work as a freelancer, journalist, producer, and media consultant with different local and regional media outlets. Our fourth team member is Yara. She is from Lebanon. She is an environmental scientist and activist and holds a master's degree in environmental policy planning from American University of Beirut. She has previously worked with Revolve Media, and now she's working as a researcher and development assistant of United Nations. She is also a member of Mediterranean Youth for Climate Action Network. And the last team member is me. I am Christina. I am from Albania. I hold a master's degree in environmental biology at the University of Tirana. I work as an environmental specialist for urban waste management for 4 municipalities. And also I am a member of Mediterranean Youth for Climate Action. Now the word takes Haya to introduce you. How was the project born?
Thank you, Christy, for the introduction, and thank you for having us in this amazing summit. I will be speaking about how Peace on Climate, our campaign, was born. It was born as a result of the Young Mediterranean Voices Virtual Communication Lab held by the Anna Lindh Foundation and Center for the Mediterranean Integration in December 2020. It was a 4-day intensive program where 20 young participants from different Mediterranean countries gathered, where intellectual, intercultural dialogue and learning by doing discussions were held, and eventually for creative campaigns were developed by the participants. The participants suggested many topics to be discussed in the lab. However, the interest in climate change has put me and 4 other participants from different regions and backgrounds in the same team, which is our current team. Anyway, it put us together where we developed the idea of creating a campaign to drag the attention linkage between climate change and conflict and radicalization. And therefore, we try to bring this topic to be discussed at the UN Climate Change Conference in the UK in 2021. Bianca will be speaking more about the specific part. But anyway, at the end of the lab, our campaign won most voices, and therefore we received an award funding to implement our campaign, opening the door for Peace on Climate to be released in real life. I'm gonna leave the floor for Bianca to speak more about our campaign and to give you more details about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Haya. I will just be brief. I wanted to make a quick point on this. I think that these labs that are held by the Young Mediterranean Voices program are opportunities for youth, and so I encourage you to all participate in the program so that you can have the same opportunity that we are having right now in implementing our project in real life. So, okay. Now, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the project itself and which are our objectives. So Peace and Climate was born in this communication lab with the intention of tackling radicalization and conflict. And we wanted to give usually overlooked and ignored approach, which is climate change. We think that it's not only what we think, but data supports that climate change is a key factor in the triggering of conflict and radicalization. And that's why we think that by fostering environmental projects, we are not only saving our environment, but we are also making a more peaceful world for everyone. So the objectives of our campaign are basically, we want international institutions to acknowledge the linkage between climate change and the proliferation of both conflict and radicalization. We want the next COP26 to include this discussion over the tackling of conflict and violence through an environmental approach. So to have a specific session of the COP26 devoted to which kind of environmental projects can best ensure that peace is kept in all areas of the world. We also want to promote a different way of peace building based on natural resources rather than on hostile operations. We think that this is a very innovative approach and that might give better results. We also want regional and local governments of places affected by climate change to implement local climate action to reduce the exposure of the region to climate-related effects and thus conflict. And finally, we want national governments and international organizations to comply with the measures stipulated by the Paris Agreement to ensure environmental preservation and global peace. So this is, in a nutshell, what we are aiming to advocate in the next months of our campaign, and hopefully we want to do the same at the COP26. So now my colleague Ahmed will tell you a little bit about how can you support us and help us reach this point.
Thank you, Bianca. So we would like to share with you in the chat some of our social media links so that you can follow our work and support it. At the same time, as we told you, we're trying to get the support of a lot of institutions or any support groups or like any kind of environmental groups, any kind of youth groups to support us to take this topic to the COP26. So what we are asking you is actually to sign the petition to help us spread the word, and we would like to have a cooperation with you if you are open to work with us on this. The cooperation can take many different levels, just as simple as just sharing the posts and sharing the our work, or just like getting involved more into pushing it forward to other institutions and other partners. Thank you so much, and you can find all the links. Christy just posted them in the chat. Thank you, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer them.
Yes, you can find our petition in our website. So now I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for listening to us, and I will leave the floor to Sarah to close the session.
Thank you. I see people have already signed the petition, they say in the chat. So I hope the message was taken on board by everybody, and we really, really hope that this goes to the COP. It's a topic that is really worth being shared and being raised awareness on. So really encouraging here all the people to join that petition. It would be great if you could also post all the links in the Whova chats for the people who are joining live from the Whova platform to be able to access the links to the petition, the social media links, and your contact data. Yeah, so many thanks on that. I don't see any questions appearing here, so that leaves me to concluding the session exactly on time, so that would be perfect. So I'm putting here my email again and restating again the fact that these two webinar sessions yesterday and today's wouldn't have been possible without the member of the Medica network. So I really thank them for their hard work on this. It was a great success, I think. And we hope to have you on board on our further conferences. I thank all the team from CMI, from IUCN, PPI OSCAN, and all the partners that we've had on board yesterday as well as today. And yeah, I hope to meet you soon again, and wish you all the best for the rest of the summit. Enjoy the many sessions that are made available to you. Take this as an occasion to raise your voice and really enhance change positive one locally, globally, in your community. So yeah, thanks a lot for joining.
And a big applaud for Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you. Then see you soon. Goodbye.
Oui, je suis en train de me connecter. Oui, je suis en train de me connecter.
Yeah, you're
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye-bye.